First off, I'd like to welcome you to the annual State of the City, County, and Schools, sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce. And by way of other thanks, we'd like to thank our sponsors for this event, which would be McDonald's, TSC, Minster Bank, Finkelmeyer Insurance, Schlosser Funeral Homes, G.A. Windsor & Son, Stolly Insurance, and Wiesemer Law Offices. So thank these sponsors. If you see the number of them in attendance today, would be great. Good program for you today. As usual, we bring in the leaders of our community and our schools to tell you about what's going on. And we're going to start today's program with Mayor Rodney Metz.
Okay. He said tap the bottom to turn it on, so okay. I appreciate the opportunity and everyone attending today. This is always a great opportunity to be able to present the news of what's going on within the city and what we've done in the past. It's kind of a year in review and a little look for what's going on this year. Obviously, I'm in my 5th year, 2nd term as mayor, and I really enjoy it, and I certainly do appreciate everyone's support for what we have done and what I continue to do within the city. The city's had 2 persons retire this past year within our city employment, and that's a great thing and kind of a bad thing. It's nice to see the employees be able to retire and take advantage of what they've worked for their entire career, but it's on the bad side when we lose the experience and the knowledge that leaves the city of Wapakoneta and from our workforce. We also, last year, experienced several storms. One storm pretty severe that went through the area, major storm damage in the Plum Street Fairgrounds all the way over to Bell Fountain Street. Straight line winds, done extensive amount of damage, a lot of power lines down, trees down, a lot of damage to the area, and a lot of businesses got hurt as well. We had the electric system back up with the aid from the light department, and they also received mutual aid from the surrounding areas. We really appreciate that. They've done a fantastic job. East Auglaize Street is now majorly finished. We have a few little issues with the trees that need to be addressed yet, but that'll be done here very shortly. So East Auglaize Street is completely finished. We're well underway with the South Interceptor Sewer project, which has been split into 2 phases. Phase 1 consists of all the work at the plant with the lift station, the holding tank, etc. They're 80% plus finished. Be testing the pumps here yet this month. Phase 2, which is the actual installation of the South Interceptor Sewer itself, which will run from the wastewater treatment plant all the way over to Water and Harrison Street at the lift station over there. And that they have started, and things are proceeding down there. They're getting paperwork in line and the elevations and all of their markings on the streets and various things. We have only 9 properties that have not signed the easements for the sewer line work behind the houses and the business areas, and that's remarkable. Really appreciate everyone's cooperation that way. The project will not only improve the efficiency of the wastewater treatment plant, but it also will improve the property values along the river, as we had to cut some trees down, which is a bad thing, but the property owners will get to pick replacement trees, and that will be part of the project. So the area will get cleaned up, there'll be a lot of beautification done in the area, and we look forward to fall of 2015, probably before that's actually all completed on the cosmetic work. The actual sewer installation and a lot of the heavy excavation will be completed, the contractor tells us, this year, which is remarkable. Greg Myers from Wapak Economic Development has been very busy. We've been very successful, and I certainly do thank Greg and his entire staff for the hard work that they have done. We've attracted a few new businesses and groups to the area. Rockline Trailers, we manufacture a trailer product that kneels down, easy to load and unload. as well as West Central Ohio True Value Hardware, and of course, Happy Days. In the uptown area, we have Fifth Third Bank, which is under new ownership and is being redeveloped for a new business. And that's fantastic for all of us. We obviously continue to look for grants to improve various things throughout the entire area. One of the grants we're searching for right now, and Mary's been spending a lot of time to get things in line, is we want to use the grant money to redo the area behind town and behind the central business district, where the South Interceptor Sewer is going, as well as burying the existing above-ground utilities, both TSC and Time Warner, and of course the Wapakoneta utility, electric. We have met with TSC and Time Warner, and I really do thank all of those folks for their understanding and their dedication and cooperation in making this project happen. It's been a very positive experience, and we look forward to the improvement back there. It'll add to the businesses, as we've had a couple business owners want to develop stuff out back, and this is paving the way for those folks to do that. We have received in total grants this past year, which include the Scrap Tire Program, CDBG funds, Travel Enhancement Fund, as well as Safe Routes to School. Mary's been responsible for this. It's over $300,000. And without these grants, it's awful difficult for us at 1% income tax to be able to achieve street reconstruction without having grant money. And it's very nice to be able to have the state step in and help us through some of these grant programs. The electric department continues to upgrade the electric distribution system throughout the entire town from 5 kV to 15 kV. They're also working on some streetlight LED replacement. And of course, anyone who travels through the 5-way light at Bell Fountain, Pearl, and Wood Street knows that the new light makes traffic move a whole lot faster and a whole lot more convenient for everyone to travel through the area. And we certainly do thank everyone involved in that project. It kind of got lengthy with a little mess up from the pole company, but things came together and it is working and it's doing very well. The solar field has been very successful that's out at the zinc farm. It saved us considerable amount of on-peak demand points, so it's been very profitable. We hope that we will have the landfill situation under control. What I mean by that is nothing negative, but we have certain permits that we have to keep following with EPA for the closure. Once that's completed, we would look at extending the solar field on top of the landfill. The fire and EMS has had a very busy year last year. They responded to over 1,260 EMS calls and 11 structural fires last year. They also were a recipient of the grant program that they applied for in excess of $6,000. Police responded to over 4,790 calls last year. Our K-9 was called on 59 times, which was kind of amazing, I thought. And the code enforcement officer has answered 319 calls. Most of the code enforcement officer calls is minor things and have been taken care of with one stop, as Paul told me. So that says a lot for our residents, being able to communicate and then want to do the positive thing up front. Freshwater plant is doing quite well. They're processing 1.38 million gallons of water a day, and they have lots of capacity to go yet to grow the city and to expand, which is wonderful. Wastewater project or wastewater plant, as I said before, the South Interceptor Sewer is well on the way. They've also done some improvements out to the plant, not related to the South Interceptor Sewer. The screw pumps are all rebuilt and the plant's running quite well. We'd like to see our utilities doing well. The water park will open the end of this month. We're finally getting some warm weather, so that's a positive. Rodney Park, that's a park that the city owns at the corner of Defiant Street in Hamilton. It's received a severe facelift. We're very proud of the volunteers and the other organizations that stepped forward. And I do have to give some credit to some of those folks. We have Blaine Kohler from Village Green, Mick Hain from Hain Florist, as well as Lowe's here in town, not only devoted material or provided material to the job, but also manpower to the job to install the retaining walls that's located out there. And of course, Blaine Kohler done the design for the facility at no cost to us. But the ones that's really been hands on the ground and really gotten dirty out there is Mrs. Lois Marker and Jim Kohler. They're the two that have planted all of the material basically out there, and are going to be the ones to take care of it. And there's been other residents and friends of the garden club that's donated plants and other growing materials for out there, and we certainly do appreciate that. It's a major improvement, major attraction for the city. It looks like something now, and there's going to be a lot less maintenance required, which was our goal for out there. Mrs. Blackburn from the city kind of inherited the project, so as you see Diana or you go through the city building, tell her thanks. It's been a good project and it's gotten done this year. Sister cities, we're very proud of our Lingerick relationship. They're our sister cities, and we celebrate 20 years with those folks this fall, and we will have a adult German visit as well as the youth visit this summer as well. Tree Commission has got a couple of projects done with the aid of the Optimist Club. They planted trees for us on the north side of the river, around the gazebo, tennis courts, football practice field. They done that, as well as trees down at Family Video and a couple other residential locations this year we done. And the Tree Commission by themselves, basically we finished planting West Benton Street. So we've finished off two major projects that the Tree Commission's had on the books for quite some time, and a major, again, improvement to the appearance of the city. But the most important thing I say kind of towards the end, last year we're very proud to say that we finished the year with over $100,000 increase in taxes, in the income tax. And to date, right now, which we all know we're not halfway through the year, it'll be the first quarter, we're 100,000 ahead. We don't really like to boast about that because there can be a lot of refunds filed yet, but income tax is looking good. That shows that economic development's doing their job. We've got some factories that are busier than they've been in the past, and we've also attracted some new ones as well. So this all adds up to a very comfortable and very productive city. We certainly do appreciate that. In closing, if anyone wishes to have a copy of my annual report, see me after the meeting. I'll be more than happy to give you a complete copy of it. I just hit the highlights is the only thing I did. If there's any questions, I'd certainly entertain any questions anybody has. Wow, you're letting me off very easy. Thank you all.
TSC can save you money.
How?
TSC can save you money with Emerge.
What's Emerge?
The Emerge bundle plan. TSC will merge your phone, cable TV, and internet into one nice, neat package to save you money.
How much money?
A boatload. The Emerge bundle plan, only from TSC.
TSC, give us a call and see. It's easy as 1, 2, 3, call TSC.
Next up, Commissioner of Auglaize County, John Bergman.
Thank you, and on behalf of the Auglaize County Board of County Commissioners, we thank the Chamber for hosting this event, and we feel it's very important. I'm going to talk on a variety of subjects very briefly and in no particular order. Some of the things that we're going to be working on in 2014 is a technology upgrade throughout the system, and trying to get that on a rotational basis so we don't get hit with a lot of upgrades at one time. And this year, in order to get that accomplished, we'll be spending close to about $200,000 in that project and getting it implemented. Some of the things that you're going to see physically happen will be the powerhouse out there. The smokestack needs some considerable amount of repair, which we did not know right away, but if you get up there and actually look at the photographs, it needs some major, major help. And that will be taking place this summer. We've been working with the city of Wapakoneta on the demolition of the worst house, which is across from the courthouse. Now, they're not involved in the demolition of it, we are. But the cooperation part of it comes into play is we've been working with them on getting the parking lot laid out. Our county engineers helped on that. Talked to Bill Raines, Rodney, about getting a crosswalk put in place there in the future. And the nice thing about that is the fire department's been able to utilize the facility in training because it's a very diverse building for a house. It's an older structure, large, and it's been added on to, so it's worked well for that. And the law enforcement has been able to utilize that facility. And again, this is not more just one time, but several times. I think you've probably been in there, no less than 4 times, the fire department? Or more? Okay. Anyways, when that's done, we plan on taking the house down this summer and then making that into a parking lot. And our county engineer is going to be helping us out on getting that backfilled to almost to grade before they put the asphalt in later this fall. We've done what we want to call a facility study for the buildings we have to kind of get an idea, again, on a rotational basis, not necessarily for us in particular, but more so for people involved in the future, what needs to be done on a rotational basis so we can kind of eliminate those surprises. One of the things that we're going to be working on this summer is a roofing project, DJFS, but the critical component of that is the downspout, as minor as that sounds, because all the downspouts empty out on the asphalt. And with the entrance on the north side of the building, it's not conducive to good foot traffic on the way in. Shifting gears here a little bit, the Auglaize River project is going to resume here as soon as the rainy season's over a little bit. It's currently about a mile north of the Auglaize County line, and you may question why it's taking so long to get there. It's taken a longer time to get there than what we anticipated because when the project started, they did what they were supposed to do. Remove the log jams, take out the leaners of 45 degrees or more. But then we had this little bug called the emerald ash borer that showed up and wreaked havoc on the ash trees. So there was sufficient money to take care of those, but they started taking care of them. It slowed the project down. We're not getting the core principle of what that project is all about, get the log jams removed. So right now, it's going to resume, remove log jams, go back to the point we're at right now, and then start on the emerald ash trees, or the ash trees, because if they're not in the river, they will be. And the other thing is it's a safety factor because while they're still standing, if they're deteriorating, they have a tendency to crumble apart when you cut them down. So anyways, that will be taking place here in about a month or so, I would say. One thing that the county's working on, not necessarily us, is CAUV. You've probably heard about it a little bit. It's a triennial update for the county. Mercer County, Shelby County, they join us. They're on this same schedule. It really affects rural properties, but there will be an increase. And it's not an increase in taxes. There's going to be an increase in your rural valuation. And there's 5 things that go into play in that. It's a cropping pattern, which entails 3 things. How much corn, beans, and wheat are planted percentage-wise across the state. Hay was in that mix. They took it out in 2010 because it was so erratic across the state. You have the price of crops figured into that, input costs, the type of soil you have, how productive it is, and then a thing they call the capitalization rate, which is interest rates, and that's a positive factor as far as it relates to CAUV values. So that you will see that, and once the abstract is sent in from our county auditor, the state approves it, then she will send a notice out. I must emphasize to you that the CAUV rates are not set by anyone here locally. The auditor's office has to administer it. The tax commissioner and the Ohio Department of Taxation set those rates with the advice from an advisory council, Agricultural Advisory Council. Our insurance consortium, we're in a health insurance consortium with 3 other counties for the medical side of it. We're in the process now of seeking requests for proposals to see if we can reduce our costs and better our services. Rodney talked about sales tax. Auglaize County has been very fortunate there too, Rodney. Sales tax is finally on its way back. 2011, we finally got back to the rate we had in 2008. In between that time, it was on a downward spiral and started creeping back up. So 2011, 2008, about the same dollar amount, roughly $7 million. In 2013, the final number came up to $8.1 million approximately. So we're on the mend and we're still seeing good positive results. And we talked about that a little bit, you know, getting people to spend money in Auglaize County. I made a comment about, well, it's nice to see people buy cars because there's sales tax on that. The nice thing about, regardless of where you purchase a car at, you say, well, how? That sales tax comes back to the county you reside in. Local government funds, there's a case where all political subdivisions were cut. We're approximately half of what we were back in what are my notes at here? In 2013, we're at 413,000. 2008, we're at 880,000. So the good thing about it is we budgeted for those cuts because nobody really knew how severe they were going to be. We were told that we did not anticipate them being any stronger than what they were. And the other thing we did not anticipate was how much money we would receive in casino revenue. You don't know that until you get a real trend. And casino revenue in 2013 is at $518,000. Interest income. Low interest rates are good for business. It's not good if you're a saver. But we're not that we're savers, but we always have money on hand, cash money on hand at the county level. So interest rates do have an impact. 2013 was $128,000 income. 2008, $706,000 in interest income. So there's a huge difference there from a financial aspect. The county's in good shape. We're moving right along. From an economic development standpoint, you know, Greg's here. We have many entities in the county here who have their own economic development directors, and we do have regular meetings with them. That one of the things that we wholeheartedly endorse is a program called Hometown Opportunities. It's great to have business move to town. It's even greater if you got people to fill those jobs. And Hometown Opportunity gives everybody the chance, if you're not in this immediate area but looking for a job in this area, or you come from this area and went to school somewhere else and just want to try something different out, it lets you know what kind of jobs we have available here. And if you want updates, it gives you the ability to make yourself, to sign up for an update. And if the jobs come in, you get those updates. So it's a great program. With that, I'll take any questions that you may have on anything I've talked about or anything that's on your mind. Yes?
River project, is there a date that you plan on it being finished, or any sort of time frame there?
We're hoping it gets finished this year, but again, a lot of it's weather dependent. And if we don't have a real rainy season where we get the elevation rise in the river, the contractor ran into a major snag, which we were up there last fall and looked at it. It's what we classified what we call a D-jam. Well, this turned out to be several D-jams. And instead of spending, I want to say 10 days in there, he spent almost a month cleaning one log jam out. And sad part is it's nice when they all come out as a big, long log. Well, every time he got a skidder in there, he just basically, what I would call a handful. And in the park district, they were good to work with too, but they wanted the wood stockpile, so it entailed some time moving into the area that they wanted to stop. Any other questions?
TSC can save you money. How? TSC can save you money with Emerge.
What's the merge?
The Emerge bundle plan. TSC will merge your phone, cable TV, and internet in one nice, neat package to save you money.
How much money?
A boatload. The Merge Bundle Plan, only from TSC.
TSC, give us a call and see. It's easy as 1, 2, 3, call TSC.
So at that time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Keith Porter, Superintendent of Wapakoneta School.
All right, I'll project a little bit here, but that's not a problem. I really thank the Chamber for having me and having the opportunity to speak. In addition to that, I'd like to thank the sponsors of this event. And in addition to that, I think that even though a lot of you are not here, all of us that have kids or maybe have kids that went through the school system, this week is Teacher Appreciation Week. It's a really difficult job all year long, so thank those teachers. We certainly appreciate what they do. And that is truly one of the rubber meets the road with respect to making progress with kids' growth and development. I'm going to talk a little bit about our finances. I'll talk a little bit about that data sheet that I passed out to you in a few moments. I'm going to talk a little bit about our report card, a little bit about kind of the political trend in education, school safety, and some other kind of miscellaneous items. In addition to that, final sum up kind of where I'm really excited about with respect to Wapakoneta City Schools. On the financial end, which is really, really good news, because this is the first time since I've been superintendent that I can actually say, one, last year we finished with, we spent, not the first time, excuse me, we did it early on. We've obviously went through some significant financial trouble, and we spent, obviously, we spent less than we took in. So we ended up with a surplus of $124,000 last year. In actuality, this year, and believe it or not, that's not a lot of money in terms of our budget. But in terms of turning the ship and kind of getting it going in the right direction, that was a huge accomplishment. So that was really big. This year, with the assistance of the state, because we did get a little bit more money, we're actually expected to be probably about $1.3 million in the black, which is really good. We got to get those reserves back. Again, it sounds like a lot of money, but we burn up a lot of money, and we burn up a lot of our savings over the last 5-6 years. So we have to continue to build that up. What the state did, because they're in a little bit better financial condition, every governor wants to put their formula on education. And in this particular formula, we actually benefited pretty significantly, because not only did we benefit from the formula by more money, but we actually were capped. In other words, what they're saying is they actually owe us $2.5 million more if you just apply our formula to us than what we're actually getting. I don't know that we'll ever get that back, but when they do the formula, they basically say, well, you are going to be a really big loser. We're going to minimize your losses. You are going to be a winner. We're going to minimize your winning. We are on the winning end. So that's still positive. I'm still thrilled with that for sure. I'm very thankful that our economic condition turned around a little bit. Going back with that, if I can go to some of those data points, and I'll only point out really one line on there. The rest of it is for your information. But
a whole lot of data, but you have three comparison sets. You have the WBL schools, you have the county schools, and you have what we call similar districts. And there's a whole bunch of statistics that basically of 600 and I'm going to say 30 school districts in the state of Ohio, those are the 20 school districts that are most like Wapakoneta. So the only schools on there that you'll see that you're really familiar with probably are St. Mary's and Salina. But with that being said, we have had such a long road financially, and in addition to the fact that we've made cuts and the Board of Education has supported making very tough decisions, the Board of Education never thought during any of that time, was it the right time to go to our voters? Because everybody was suffering. So we also thought we had to make, a significant effort to reduce. Well, this is the proof that we've reduced. If you go to the second line, and it's expenditures per pupil on that sheet, on all of those spreadsheets, excuse me, you won't find any school district in any of those groups that spend less per student than we do. Now, I don't know whether I'm ashamed of that or proud of that, probably a little bit of both, to be honest, because we probably our kids deserve a little bit more than that, but I'm also proud to say that we made significant decisions to reduce our spending and very tough choices that impacted our kids, but that was, again, at the same time that our community was going through a hard time. I expect to be there next year, probably in the same situation. This is 2013 fiscal data. This is all available on the Ohio Department of Education website. This is 2013 data. I expect to be there next year. After that, we should start climbing a little bit because we actually have added some staff members. We've got what I call not downsizing, right sizing, because we went through the downsizing period, and that resulted in those numbers. So now we're trying to say, okay, where can we reassess? And actually, it was kind of a cleansing. It kind of really made us evaluate what we're doing, and we have some areas where we're still really looking at what areas do we significantly want to invest in. So those are some things we want to talk about. Let me talk about the report card for a minute, and this actually real briefly because the report card is being completely revamped, or has been completely revamped. Probably a whole lot of information, and probably a whole lot of information that people in general don't understand. To be very honest, we pay a whole lot of attention to the report card, and we should. There are some things on there that I truly believe in. There's some things on there that I'm thinking, I'm not necessarily, don't agree with that measure. In general, we are happy but not satisfied with our overall achievement. We are happy but not satisfied with our value-added score, and happy but not satisfied with our graduation rate. Our overall achievement, our value-added score, I need to remind you, that's where they measure one kid, a student 1 year, and then they measure them the next year, and they say, how did they grow? Did they have 1 year's worth of growth in 1 year? So we were happy with that score, because as a district, we were above the average. Now, they also break subgroups down. So they'll take kids who are economically disadvantaged, which is about 43% of our kids, 41% of our kids. They take students who are gifted, they take students with disabilities, and they put all of those into subgroups and say, well, how did those kids do? And as a whole, our students with disabilities did not do as well as we would want them to be, and our gifted students did not do as well as we want them to. So, in other words, we need to look at those subgroups and try to stretch them a little bit more, and we're continuing to do so. The gifted portion is a little bit complex because the measure I just described to you, which is where we measure from 1 year to 1 year, I believe that that's probably a fair measure. The state is going to provide more gifted measures, and that's going to really, we're not going to do well on that, and I'm not intending to do well. Basically, they're trying to legislate policy or your delivery, they're trying to legislate your delivery system. So unless you do this, this, and this with your gifted kids, you're not going to get a good grade. Well, all of those delivery systems are not something that we necessarily believe in. I don't always believe that it's good to pull kids out of a classroom, regular education classroom. I want kids to be included. That's true of the students with disabilities as well. We want them to be included as a general rule. So those are some things we're going to struggle with. We will always struggle with what they call gap closing, which is those subgroups. So the students with disabilities, we have continuously struggled, and to be honest, we're not alone. That's a struggle everywhere. What the state will point to is there are some schools that do it very, very well, and we certainly look at those schools. But historically, it's been a struggle for us to work with those subgroups. And I'm going to talk a little bit now about what I call the politics of education on the state level, which is really a frustration point for me. We have the Common Core, which is nationally politicized issue. We have the Common Core, which is nationally a politicized issue, and for me, we've always had standards come down from above, so it wasn't really anything new to me. So when I look at those standards, they look a lot like the standard.
They look a lot like the standards that I dealt with in 1990 when I started teaching and started with a proficiency test. It was the state of Ohio telling me what you had to teach. It's the same now. It is still the state of Ohio. They just adopted the national curriculum. I'm not telling you I'm for it or against it. What I am telling you is we cannot consistently chase whatever politician's view of education is around. Because what we end up with is we end up spending a whole lot of money, a whole lot of resources, going in a direction, and then the politics of it changes, and then it either stops or changes, and then we change. We really lose ground when we can't stay consistent in what we're trying to do. So that's a very important issue to me. The Common Core, okay, that's fine. If we're not going to do that, we have to have some standards. Then there's the addition of the PARC assessment, which is, if you've heard about that, that's how they're measuring the Common Core. And what legislators will tell you is you have local control, you can teach whatever you want. That's true. But you don't get to give whatever assessment you want. You have to give the state assessment. So you're going to teach what is on that, to what that is on that assessment, teach the assessment, whatever you want to call it, We're teaching the standards that we think we're going to be assessed on. So we don't get a choice in that. So the part test, which is a huge animal. There are there are like 45 states that signed on for this thing. And they're piloting the test, and I have real significant issues with this as well. So they're testing these kids, third graders on up. In fact, they're talking about testing kindergartners. They're testing third graders on up on these online assessments. Here's the difficult part to me. Okay, you put a third grader in a computer, they come to you with all kinds of different abilities with respect to technology. They don't get to see this test beforehand as a third grader. And then they have to learn how to manipulate the test. But we're supposed to be measuring reading. So my question is are we measuring reading, or are we measuring their ability to maneuver the technology, to manipulate the technology? It's a real problem to me, but it is also something that we have been working towards because the legislature says go to PART, go to PART, go to PART, prepare for it. ODE says prepare for PART. Now there's a bill in the legislature saying let's delay PART. Let's not do PART right now. So that's what I'm talking about. That whole, I guess, uncertainty of where we're going on the state level is problematic for us because we do spend. I mean, we were just about very close until the bill was introduced. Well, actually, until we had kind of got word that the bill probably will pass. PART will probably be delayed. We were about to spend $300,000 on technology for laptops because you're not talking about a test of these third graders of a 2-hour test. You're probably talking about for one subject. You're probably talking about a 5-hour test for one subject, which is a whole other issue as well. So we've got to come to some common ground politically about where we want education to go, how do we want to assess it, and what's all that going to look like. In the meantime, we're held accountable for all the standards. So it is very difficult. When you talk about local control, I would tell you local control, they say it's being eroded. It is. I would say, yeah, in general it is. It's being eroded probably most frequently at the state level because we are getting pounded with legislation about issues of what to teach, when to teach it, how to spend money, what to spend the money on. And I have no problem with the gifted measure. If I go backwards and give you an example, I want those kids to grow from one year to another. District, you decide how to get there. But the strings are a lot more, there's a lot more strings attached to that. They not only tell you that you have to get there, they tell you how you have to get there. And that's the problem as well. So there's my political commentary today. It's very frustrating for that particular part of education right now. I also want to talk about school safety a little bit. The police department, sheriff's department, we work on a monthly basis. We meet monthly in various buildings. We walk the buildings, and we'll talk about it all. We'll talk about different issues. We probably spent about $100,000 over the past year and a half on school safety issues. What we do, and I just can't thank them enough, and that's why I want to do that publicly, because I can't thank the city enough for all of their support, and the sheriff's department for their support, and the village of Privatesville as well, because their commitment to that is huge. And we go into each and every day thinking that something might happen here today, it can't happen here. So I think that's certainly a different mindset. It can happen very easily in this area. Something that's the next issue, and it kind of relates to politics a little bit. It's a little bit quiet right now, but there's a constitutional modernization committee where there's a committee looking at changing the Constitution of Ohio. Well, if you remember way back in the first of my career, or 24 years ago, in 1990, when I started, there was a lawsuit called the Duralf Law case, and basically it said that they ruled the way Ohio Fund School was unconstitutional. And we've been kind of, that's been battle for 24 years. So, the key words in the Constitution that were impacted, that were a point of contention in that lawsuit, were that the Ohio legislature is responsible to provide a thorough and efficient education for all kids. Thorough and efficient were being the key words. The Constitutional Modernization Committee wants to take those two words out of the Constitution. So, if you take those two words out, that was the point of contention, then I guess you can provide whatever education you want for kids. So it's a concern. It's kind of a new issue that we're seeing that we'll probably hear a little bit more about in the future. In spite of all of the things, we have really a good, we're on a better financial situation. our report card is okay. We need to get better. We need to start thinking about, I always say I'm like a depression era superintendent. I'm scared to spend $1 because I'm worried the sky's going to fall if I do, just because of what we went through and how difficult it was. But I'm excited about a few things. I'm excited that I don't have to think this year about what I'm going to cut. I'm not necessarily adding a ton of stuff, but I don't have to think about what $2,000, what thing am I not going to offer some group of kids. That's really good. The other thing I'm excited about, and this is something that probably none of you know, and I can't tell you that all of my staff members are excited about this, but our teachers meet weekly, once a week during the school day now. And why is that important? Well, teachers really don't get a lot of time to meet together. So we have a little structure that we try to put to it, and we meet each week as a team. I'm not part of those meetings, building principal is. They meet as a grade level, as a department, whatever it might be, and they talk about what do we want to work on, how do we measure it, and how will we know it's successful when we're done. So we're trying to use some data points instead of just saying, "Oh, I think my kids are learning." That to me, and we're not very good at that yet. We're really not. We're getting there. This is the first year for it. That's been a year-long struggle because scheduling in the school system was very, very difficult. So we finally figured out a way, first time in 9 years, to have every building that has some bit of time during the school day every week to try to meet and try to talk about these issues. That's really important. That's another thing that really excites me about our potential to continue to grow, because we can make a difference in the classroom with kids, or with our teachers, and how they deliver instruction. With that, thank you guys for the opportunity, and I'll take any questions.
You mentioned gap closing. Why do you think that's a problem administratively? How are you going to try to
It's the $1 million question. Because he asked the gap closing, why do we think it's a problem and how are we going to fix it? Well, the number one indicator of student success of anyone is socioeconomic status. The number one thing. So if you're looking at kids who come from low income homes, you already have one variable against you. So what we have to try to figure out how to do is during the school day, because we can't control anything outside of that, is how do we make the biggest stride. So why we struggle? Well, there's a multitude of variables with respect to why we struggle. We got to take a piece of that. We got to take ownership of it and say, we're going to make a difference while they're here, and not necessarily worry about what happens when they're outside with mom, dad, or whatever it might be. So I don't know. I mean, we are trying to use these data points. We look at some of these data. We try to say, okay, what's working with our socioeconomic or low socioeconomic status kids, and how can we get them improved? If you go back to that small group teacher meeting that I talked about, you have 5 teachers in a room. One teacher did really good with their subgroup of kids in that subgroup. How did you teach it? What did you do to make your lesson effective compared to what these folks did that really struggled? Those are the kind of conversations we're trying to start to have. Like I said, we're not very good at it yet, but we'll get there.
2 questions, Keith. What was the name of the text that you're trying to use? PARC or PARC?
PARC, P-A-R-C-C.
What is it?
And it's the partnership of assessments. It's always PARC. And there are 45 states that have signed on, not necessarily PARC. There are 2 test companies. One is called Smarter Balance, the other is called PARC. Ohio signed on with PARC. And PARC is this big consortium of states that are going to say, we're going to develop these tests to deliver to students online to assess whatever you want. So I've talked before in here and elsewhere about the achievement cliff. They expect us to do horrible on these tests. They're telling us now, you're going to do horrible because you're not going to see it. Do your kids know how to manipulate the computer? That's happening. So
the second part of my question is, will our state legislators be required to take the PARC test?
No.
Should they be?
Yeah. I would like to apply the concepts of gap closing and value added to our legislation. And I would tell them that. And to the credit of and I'm not pandering in any way, but we do meet with legislators as area superintendents on a regular basis. And we do, those meetings, they get attention from us, and we get attention from them.
Follow-up, the test you say that 3rd graders will be taking, which is on a computer screen, did you say that could be as long as 5 hours?
Yes. Not in one setting. In multiple settings.
How can they expect a third grader?
That's very, how can they expect an adult to do that? That's, I mean, how many of us can say
I'd like to see a flip board.
Yeah, they're crowds. Yeah, so that's a real problem.
Well, we talked about it. The increased testing is coming down the pipeline for these kids is astronomical. And the fear that I have, and I'm using some rotary, is the educators are going to be teach to the test and not truly educate the kids.
Well, there's so much more to education than a test. So, you know, we're going through testing right now. It's really a flyby. They take a picture. One day. One day in math, one day in language arts, one day in social studies, one day in science. So you're taking one day and you're judging everybody. I would much rather you in this room, all the parents, tell me whether we're doing a good job or a bad job. You know, did we prepare your kid for college? Are they successful? Are they doing okay? Where are their areas going to improve? And they're starting to get a little pushback on that from a lot of different folks. So it's a complicated area, and it's a national issue too, which I'm sure you know the Common Core is as well. The interesting thing about the Common Core is there are people that are, at least on the right side of the political spectrum, there are people for and against it. It's not a right-left issue, really. It's kind of, there are people who are really all over the place on supporting the Common Core. I do want to point out that front page, the staffing and the enrollment, you can see about the last 10 years, I would call our enrollment steady. That is, actually, if you look regionally, I consider that a real positive, because regionally, enrollments went down in most school districts. Not even stabilized. Most of them, very few people would have an enrollment picture like this. And I haven't done that, but just from talking to other superintendents and knowing their struggles with limited enrollment. So we're holding our own there as well.
Keith, I think you were talking about the partnership for assessment of readiness in college and careers.
There you go.
That's education background right there. And that's what Troy said. I do have a question. Can you identify one or two factors that set yourself apart on your per pupil expenditure versus everybody else in comparison? You are the lowest.
Yeah.
All three comparisons.
I know that we went through a lot of pain. You guys all witnessed some of it very publicly. But some of it was not public. And that was just a whole lot of tough decisions in saying, we can't offer this. We have to do this with one less person, whatever it is. So, like I said, I don't know whether I'm proud of that or embarrassed of that. But it probably won't stay there. Like I said, I think it might stay there next year, for next fiscal year. But probably not after that. So it's still going to be pretty low. We're not going to jump up to 9,000 overnight. And we did one thing, we were able to see it coming a little bit, and we had the ability to weather that because we did have some savings in the bank. That was very important as well, to be able to spend more than you take in for 4 or 5 years. That's why it's important, now that you have a little money, you don't want to. You can't just spend it all. All right, thank you very much. That concludes our program, unless anybody's come up and take a moment here and increase a little longer, but we thank you for coming out. The chamber thanks you, the sponsors thank you, and hope you enjoy the meal. Have a great day.
TSC can save you money. How? TSC can save you money with Emerge.
What's Emerge?
The Emerge bundle plan. TSC will merge your phone, cable TV, and internet into one nice, neat package to save you money.
How much money?
A boatload. The Emerge bundle plan only from TSC.
TSC, give us a call and see. It's easy as 1, 2, 3, call TSC.